cancer of different types, like lung cancer, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer. So um, I was just having different issues, like my breasts were they were sore, and just different things that I wasn't comfortable with and I wasn't sure what it was. So my primary care physician kept telling me because of my age, I could not have a mammogram. And because of breast density, they wouldn't be able to see anything. So for 2 years, I asked for a mammogram. And so finally, when I was 33, I was given a mammogram. I gotten a referral for a mammogram. And so once I did that, I went on and got the mammogram, especially because of my health history. I thought they'd be a little more, push a little bit more. But nonetheless, I had it done. And then during, again, my routine mammogram, they found calcium clusters. And so after a biopsy and everything, then they found it was called DCIS, which stands for ductal carcinoma in situ, right? So it's in the milk ducts. It's not invasive, but cancer is cancer. So we moved pretty quickly on it because I wanted it out, first of all. And at the time, my mother was still alive, and she was kind of going through her own battle with health changes. But she was there with me the whole time. And part of that, with the wellness journey, you know your body. Or at least we should. As women, we should know our bodies. If something doesn't look right, feel right, we should be the main advocates for ourselves. Because again, depending on the Medicare or the medical coverage that you have, sometimes your primary care physician may not give you the resources that you need. So, like I said, for 2 years, I literally begged to have the mammogram. So, with the first diagnosis, I did the lumpectomy with radiation. I think I had 35 or 36 treatments for radiation. And going through all of that, I was actually married as well, and my kids were really small. And just going through that made me start thinking about other things as far as like just taking care of myself, the radiation, with that, you have to, there's different things you have to do when you're going through radiation. Your diet doesn't have to change per se, but you sleep a lot. So, and I didn't know I was going to sleep as much as I did. My mother would call it, she said, it's like laying out in the sun all day. That's basically what it is, cooking you, she said. And, but I did aloe vera, made sure that because that takes care of the skin, to make it heal. It was kind of a wild ride initially because again, I was afraid, different things, different machines, different people touching me to go in for my radiation treatments. And, after a while I became a pro in my eyes where I would just walk in and just take it off clothes. But just the process, because, growing up, I was ashamed of my body as a young girl, and as women, we compare ourselves to each other. And I want what she has. If I could have her legs, her body, her rear end, things like that. And so I did like any other young woman would do. And so the fact that they had to do a lumpectomy, that made me feel less of a woman because now I'm missing, in my eyes, I'm missing part of what makes me a woman. So, excuse me. So through that journey of the lumpectomy and then the radiation treatment, I didn't feel pretty, you know. And so, but I had a lot of women on my inner circle, and my big sister Liz, she's, all of them were just telling me, you're fine. The most important thing is that you're healthy now, right? You're gonna get better. You've got your kids, and of course, you go through the mental challenges of the cancer diagnosis. The first thing we think about is death. That's just natural, and the big C word, and my mother always would tell me, all sickness is not unto death. She would say that all the time because she was diagnosed probably 11 years before I was. And so, and she didn't pass then, but still just going through that and, loving myself and liking what I saw. I was like, okay. And then they've got different things to compensate, with all the technology in the world now, for what they took away from the surgery, they have other things they can compensate for what you lost. So I dealt with that as well. And then I had started learning about just different things to stay away from: red meats, milk, soy. And then, again, this is not from doctors. This is just other women who had gone through it. So I'm not trying to be a doctor or diagnose anybody or treat anything, but because those things have hormones in them. And as cancer patients or survivors, anything with hormones is stuff that we don't need. It doesn't help us in the long run. So, and then I did tamoxifen for 5 years, which was horrible, but it was part of my healing process. So, and so when my babies were small, I didn't tell them that I was sick. I just said I had an owie. That's what you tell kids, so they don't worry. But looking at them as young as they were, again thinking of nothing but death, I felt like I wouldn't see them grow up. I wouldn't see them get married. All that stuff played a role in my head. But I also trusted God. Um, he was truly the main source on why I was able to get up every day, even to go to treatment by myself, do what I had to do. And at the time before the treatment center was close, as close as it is now, I used to have to drive to downtown LA. And so, but again, it was part of the journey. I met some wonderful people, and I met some really not so wonderful folks, but also same as when it came to the medical professions. I met some really great doctors. Me and my oncologists stayed connected. But then there were also some in offices that weren't, their bedside manner was not great. So with that's a whole other thing. That sent me over the top, and I went shopping because I was upset. But anyway, but but yeah, so it's just thinking about, like you were talking about the shepherd's manner, like those are great things. I didn't know about things like that growing up. The main thing I knew about were the big hospitals. That's because cancer is what they do. So I knew about that, but I didn't know about like American Cancer Society in that way. So but it was just great to have those tools, all a part of my wellness. And then again, like I said, being diagnosed, I'm on my 5-year track now. Medically speaking, you're not in remission until you hit your 5-year mark. So just as I was hitting my 5-year mark, they found calcium clusters again in the same breast. So now that one actually took me out. I was mentally just, okay, I'm dying. I'm gonna die emotionally. With the second diagnosis, I'm like, I was almost there. I was almost finished. My mom has already passed by now. And I was like, I want my mommy, but but my big sister, she came through for me and came down. But my kids are older now, so I had to tell them. And they bonded, which was really great. And just speaking to anyone who's out there who has children who may be listening, um, every parent knows their own child. So, there's age appropriate information that they should have. But when the first diagnosis came, that was 5 years prior. So yeah, they were really small then. But by now, my oldest was, he was 15 or 16, and my youngest was like 9 or 10. So then I could tell them because it was more serious this time. This was way more serious than the first diagnosis, because little did I know my body would go through a very traumatic change with this second diagnosis and surgery. So I definitely had to let them know, because I didn't want anything to happen, and then they're wondering, what happened, and they have to grow up with that. So, but yeah, so with that second diagnosis, again, my sisters, my brothers, my inner circle folks, my church family, they rallied around me and my children to make sure we had everything that we needed. But I did want to talk about some of the negative contributors to diagnosis, other than what I've already mentioned. Like sometimes you can be your own worst critic. You get in this place. Sometimes you can get in this place and you're thinking everything but the good things. You know, the part about you being a strong Christian woman goes out the window. Like, wait a minute, I'm a Bible believer. What's going on? But again, sometimes that a diagnosis, even a second time, can overshadow that. So, but I definitely stayed on my knees a lot. I prayed a lot. I journaled a lot, which helped. And like I said, I had some really great people in my corner. Would comb my baby's hair. They would take my boys to school. I have 4 boys and 1 girl, so they would make sure that they were settled. And so it was really great. And I just love what you're doing with the ministry that you have. But yeah, it's very important to have that support system And then the emotional, you'll go up and down. Don't beat yourself up about it. But you want to be healthy too. You want to have healthy emotional outbursts. You don't want to get to where you hold it all in and then you just let it out at the wrong place on the wrong person, because then that's not productive for you nor for your physical you, also the folks around you.
So you say you don't want to let it out at the wrong place on the wrong person?
well, sometimes, like there are people, especially I said, like women, we tend to hold things in. We process, we Rolodex. So you can go ahead and do that initial release. But what I'm saying is, don't hold all that what you're feeling in, because then you're gonna let it out at the wrong place, wrong time. It might be at the person at the DMV. It might be somebody on the phone. It might be in a grocery store. And so instead of them knowing what's going on, they're just going to think, oh, she's either on some stuff she shouldn't be on, or she's 5150, because emotions, they release in different ways. And
Yes, they
sometimes
do.
it's almost like when you're praising God, sometimes people rock, sometimes people moan, sometimes people wave a hand, sometimes people get up and run. But that if you're in church, it makes sense. But if
And
you're
all that could be one person.
and all that can be, all that can be one person. But if you're in a place where that doesn't, I should say, make sense to the population that you're around, then it's going to seem like something else is going on. And then you've got to, somebody's got to come assist you in a way that you don't need assisting. You just kind of, you
Right.
held it all in. So I would say those are good. When it comes to wellness, those, it's good to have good emotional health as well as your psychological health and your physical health. Now, true, people can be healthy as far as physically fit, healthy, you know,
Mm.
10% body fat, whatever it is, and still get cancer. So, um, but if you're not in a good place during your diagnosis and treatment, sometimes that can contribute to your healing.
That reminds me that sometimes we need to let people know what cancer is, because they're like, well, why should I eat right if I could still get cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just take a moment and talk about what is cancer anyway. What is it? And so it is a cell in the body. So our body is made of trillions of cells, and the process is a cell comes, a cell dies, a cell leaves the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of cancer, a cell becomes abnormal, and then it attaches to another cell, and now both of them are abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a couple more cells that become abnormal,
It
and
multiplies.
now you're starting to have a tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't leave the body and it hangs on the inside of the body, that's what that is. So I know we talk about eating healthy. I know we talk about drinking water, getting rest, and
Mm-hmm.
exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when we look at the fact that the average person does not do most of that, then it becomes a challenge. Um, it be a challenge for us to think about being healthy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
You're right.
and that's how some people can end up with cancer, because it's just the cells did not function properly and leave.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for that information. Also, they multiply quickly. That's why when someone is diagnosed, they want to be aggressive with it. Now, there's different types of cancer, but cancer, nonetheless, cancer is cancer. Like fire is fire. So
Right.
you wanna attack it as soon as possible so it doesn't get anywhere. Even though they said DCIS is not invasive, it will not spread. I didn't want to take that chance, because again, it's in my DNA, it's in my gene pool, and so I didn't want to. I just didn't want to take the chance, and I wanted it out. And I prayed. I don't know what it is, but I want it out. So I did. And I asked God why me, and He quickly responded with why not you. So,
Yeah.
and then there's but yes, I'm glad you explained it that way, because there are a lot of folks who don't know either where it comes from, what it does, but it and depending on, I think also it's a little environmental, but again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but nonetheless, like you said, taking care of yourself just in general, and like you said, some people may say, well, why exercise if I'm going to get it anyway? Just be healthy for you. You're not
Right.
for your if you've got children or if you're married, your spouse, your community, just to be healthy in general. Because really, at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you really don't have a lot to contribute other than what you're doing, where you are. So it's good to have as good health as you can. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So,
And there's two different perspectives.
mhm,
There's prevention, which, and that's where we're doing the best that we possibly can to try not to get it.
mhm,
And then there's early detection. And early detection says go get your screenings as scheduled and as is required for you.
mhm.
So, and tell me again, you were how old when you were diagnosed?
I was 33 when I was diagnosed. And, back then they were saying, wait till you're 40 or 50. So I can't even imagine if I'd even be
Right.
around if I'd waited that long. But I begged, like I said, for 2 years. And I told them my health history, my mother's health history, aunts and uncles. And I mean, other people have other things, but cancer is in our gene pool. And they still would not do it because of my age.
Mm.
And
And but that also means that your daughter should be start her screening at age 21.
yeah, when I was first diagnosed, my mother was still alive. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to do a DNA test or do the gene test on her.
Genetic.
Thank you, the genetics testing. And my mother was like, no. She said, don't, because they wanted to do it when she was younger. They wanted to do it when she was really young, like 8, 9,
Oh,
and to kind of, get her upset in a way that she may not be able to recover. When you start talking about all these big words, we didn't want to put her through that. But now she's 23, so she's an adult. So we did talk about this just probably a month ago about choosing to get tested for that, and my boys as well, because men do get breast cancer as well. It's rare, but they do get it, and but because men are not checked like we are with our regular yearly things, sometimes it can go undetected, and unfortunately, they will pass because it was just they never thought about it. And so yeah, so she could actually go and get tested should she choose to do so. And I told her I'd be right there if she needed me to. Well, we're in the pandemic, but I'll still, be there for her.
I'll
If she,
sit in the car while she goes in.
right, right. So yes, that would be good. Yeah, I would say anybody if it's in your genes, just go. Have it done as early as 21. As much as you can with what your healthcare provider will allow, because sometimes extra tests may be costly.
And when there's extra tests, or if the insurance is not covering it, there are organizations that will, under 40, they will do a free mammogram. And if you just are uninsured, they will do the free mammogram. I'm trying to think of the name. I see the person, and the name of that organization is not coming to me right this second, but it'll come to me before we're done.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
um,
because it's needed, and then again, in underserved populations, it's needed. And it is.
and I
It's
would just hate for people to go through. It's like we get blown away by some health information,
mhm,
and we're stuck because we don't know where to go. We don't know who to talk to.
exactly.
We can't even talk to people in our family because we don't want to get them upset. And what if it's nothing? In fact, a lot of us, because I'm a 20-year breast cancer survivor.
Oh,
And
congratulations!
yes, my journey actually began on 9/11. That was my first day at the doctor. And uh, there was no history of breast cancer in my family. So I didn't know. What do I know? I'm just following instructions. But there were so many things that came up. If I had not been involved with Women of Color and Women of Essence, these other breast cancer organizations in Los Angeles, then there's a lot I just would not have known. And I was another one. It was my first mammogram at age 40. And
Mm.
they were saying, wait till you're 50. All my friends were getting mammograms and they're like, you're too young, don't even worry about it. But I
Mhm.
wanted to be part of the big girl club.
Right, right.
So I just, I turned 40. Somebody said, yes, you could do it at 40. So I went. And lo and behold, that's what it was. But I'm like you, if I had waited till 50, will we be talking now?
May not have made it. And what was your diagnosis? Was it DCIS as well?
Inflammatory breast cancer, stage 3B, right out the box.
Yes, you wouldn't be here I because I have a dear friend who had IBC, and she was given. I'm probably misquoting, but like 40% chance at living, and
Yep.
they
And most of them don't make it past 5 years.
right, right.
And so for me to be 20, when doctors find out what type of cancer I had,
Hmm.
a lot of times they get tears in their eyes because they realize that I'm a walking miracle.
Wow. Also women of color, we if you don't know what to look for, even if you don't do a self breast exam, if you don't know what to look for to think you have can't, especially IBC, and IBC makes itself known on your breast where you would be like, that doesn't look right. But you got to know your body.
Right.
The dimples, it looks like an orange. The heart's not the knot that's there and it doesn't feel like it's supposed to. Those are things, again, black women, it's IBC that I'm just learning. IBC seems to be more common in black women than any other race. And again, we are also the ones that will sometimes not go in, or if you go in, depending on where you live, you may not be able to get the treatment you need right away because of where you're living. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you got that treated. Oh my gosh, that yes, inflammatory. It says inflammatory for a reason because it spreads like fire and it
Rapidly.
takes no
Yes.
prisoners.
And it's no not node. It
Mm.
was like a whole space, a smooth rock like the back of my hand. And it was red and it was hot. I thought I was just gaining weight, which I was, but when I would undress, it would never cool off. And that's why I knew, okay, we need to go to the doctor. Something's wrong.
Mhm.
But never in the wildest dreams did I imagine that they were going to come back with breast cancer.
So what was your treatment?
Well, I actually went through, what did I do? I had surgery, a lumpectomy, 6 rounds of chemo, a mastectomy, 4 more rounds of chemo, and then 25 days of radiation.
You are a
But
walking.
when I was done with that, it was time to have a party, and that party turned into a ministry.
All right. So you always partying.
Okay, hey. I love a good party.
You
In
always
fact, it was interesting because at that party, 3 people said we need to do this more often. Because the theme of the party was let your hair down or take it off.
I
And
like that.
we played bid whist. We did the cha-cha slide. We played taboo. We laughed. We ate good food. It was a potluck because when you going through chemo, you have a tendency to lose your taste buds.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure everybody at least had one thing they could eat. You're not gonna bring something you can't eat, right?
Right, right.
So so we made it a potluck. You would never think that those ladies had anything wrong with them because it was a show enough throwdown Thanksgiving meal, from the turkey and dressing to the mac and cheese, the greens, then and that stuff that everybody likes, peach cobbler.
Oh,
We had it all.
that
It was
sounds
so delectable. But when those 3 people said we need to do this more often, I'm like, there it is right there.
wow.
And we have been meeting every month since January 2003.
Wow. That is so wonderful. I don't know how you feel, but I'd like to be just like a side honorary member just to be part of that
You don't
group.
have to be honorary. Come on, we need you.
You know, it's this is like you were talking about this club, right? This is really one of those clubs that you're not fighting to get into. Your
Right.
membership costs you nothing financially initially, but it's going to cost you almost everything. So,
Exactly.
but you don't see people, oh, I want to join that. I want to be part of. No, this is not the club you want to be part of. But when I'm able to meet other women and men who are a family like that, that helps me so I can contribute and then people can pour into me as well. Because
Yes.
again, we're not, some people wear it on their sleeve, some people wear it on the t-shirt, but again, we've been in the pandemic almost 2 years, so I don't really see a lot of survivors.
Right.
'Cause I'm not going a lot of places either. So um, but that would be wonderful just to connect with those. You have men and women or just women?
Everybody, man, women, boy, and girl.
Wow.
But
Oh,
that's why we did the cruise by,
mhm.
because I haven't seen anybody. We need to at least see you. Just drive by and say hi. You know. But check out our Facebook page. You can see the
Okay.
pictures and some of the videos from the cruise by. I was on the 23rd of October, was
Mhm.
last
And
week.
what's the Facebook page?
Celebrate Life Cancer
Okay.
Ministry.
Okay. I'll do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So excuse me, we're talking one of the things I also wanted to let people know about when you go to the doctors and stuff. I don't know if you did this, but I had to learn the hard way. Any doctor I go to now, not just my oncologist, but any doctor I go to, I always have a card or a piece of paper that I've written questions on. Because it's usually once he or she comes in and said, okay, see you in 6 months or see you in 3 months, is when the information flows and you have a million questions. And so I've learned to keep pen and paper in my purse or in my pocket or something. So just, there were things that I did want to ask, because you really only have a 15-minute window for the most part. Maybe 20 depending on what's going on with you. But just to encourage people, and if you can't write it down, I know we're in COVID, but if you can't write it down and ask the questions, have somebody do that for you. If you can't go in there with them, have them on the phone. All these different things that these doctors are saying, because I don't know about you, but when I got my first diagnosis, I couldn't hear anymore. I had this ball in my throat and I couldn't breathe. So all I could hear was my pulse in my ears because I was checked out. All I was thinking about was death, and I had my baby girl sitting on my lap.
Wow.
So the questions, and they say, well, you got any questions? Well, yeah, I got a million of them, but right now I can't think of anything. So have something like that handy if you can. And now with phones, you got your memo pad, you can always write it there. But yeah, definitely have that with you. Any doctor's appointment, like I said, anything, and just again know your body. So how was your after you did your treatments and everything? What changed with you as far as your anything with your eating or the whole drinking more water? I've always been a water drinker. That's something I've never really had to be told. I've been told to stop drinking so much water, but I've never been told that
Okay.
I need to drink more water. What about
Okay,
you?
but put a pin in that. I want to come back to the
Oh,
doctor's office,
mhm.
and then I'll come back to your question. But regarding the doctor appointment, there's 2 points that I like to make. One, you also can turn on your tape recorder on your phone.
Yep.
Ask the doctor if you can record your visit, because you have a feel. He's like, they tell you all this stuff, and then at that point you're like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not listening anymore.
Mhm.
Can I please turn on the tape recorder? Right. The second is if you can email your doctor
Mm,
and let them know what questions you have in advance. Some are easy and they can answer them before you arrive, like return the email. And some they need to explain when you get in the office.
that's good. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, those are good suggestions.
Um, and then also you want to, try to have somebody with you when you know you're going on an important doctor appointment. One of the things I always had a hospital posse. I had my mom, my cousin, my pastor, and his wife.
Wow.
The the girls all went to every single doctor's appointment. And they were in the room, not out in the lobby.
Right,
I
right.
mean in the room.
Standing room
And
only.
it's standing room only. And there was one day that the doctor came in and somebody was missing. The
Mm,
doctor came in, he went, I'll be back. Somebody's missing. Okay. I say, okay, we'll wait. So you go see the other person and just come on back.
So
So we
he
want to
already
make sure he
knows.
already knew. He's gonna have to repeat it if otherwise.
Right.
So those are some other things that we can do when you realize that the information is on overload.
Yeah. I like that
And then
recording. I like that recording because sometimes some doctors may not let you because they're not sure who you're going to share it with. But most
it's your information. They
is
should
your
let you.
information correct. It's
Yeah.
good.
And then the other is if you need a longer appointment and you know it,
Mm.
when you schedule your appointment, ask for a double appointment.
Mm.
So they literally scheduled 30 minutes for you and not the short version of 15.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
So
Okay.
that, and a lot of times you can. Now, if their schedule is really tight, they might tell you, we can't this week, but
Mm-hmm.
on another day, well, tell me a day when I can.
Yeah.
If I can't do it that day, what day can I do it?
Yeah, because
So,
15 minutes is just not enough, especially for a diagnosis, something that's life changing like that. By the time
mhm,
you really get it together after what he or she's telling you, the appointment's over. So you need that other 15 to now ask questions. So I
yeah.
like that. That's good. That's good. I never knew that you could do that. Do you think that your healthcare provider would charge you double copay?
That's not something I'm gonna worry about right now.
Right,
I need my questions answered, right?
right, right. That's funny. That's
And if
funny.
you're all, that's a good question. Um, I only did it once, and no, I didn't have to.
Okay.
I'm like, whatever it is, I need to pay it then because I need the questions answered.
Right, right.
And if you have a doctor that has poor bedside manner, who is not answering your questions to your satisfaction, who cannot break it down to a point that you're understanding what you're about to journey through,
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody else in the next room.
That's right.
Get another doctor. You don't have to necessarily change your medical plan,
Mm-hmm.
but there are other oncologists generally
Yeah.
in the program the hospital or the service that you're actually receiving.
I'm glad you said that too because some folks may feel like they're stuck with that person and I'll just deal with it later. But no, because you want to be clear on what he or she is saying, the diagnosis, the prognosis, the treatment, medications, all of that. You want to be clear because if not, excuse me, you'll always be wondering, maybe I should have done this. Was
Yeah,
and then if you feel like you can't speak up, again, if you got that hospital posse, let them speak up for you. Tell them to speak
yeah.
up for you on your behalf. Because sometimes we do kind of cower to ourselves because we don't want to, we don't want to ruffle any feathers. We just gotta hurry up and go. But that's good. I'm glad you said that too. I'm glad you said
And I would also say the doctors who serve us
that. Mm-hmm.
are just as human as we are. And I'm going to stand on the side of the doctor right now and say, one time, give them a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Second time, no, you can ask them in their face, is there somebody else I can talk to? Because you're not it for me.
Right.
I mean, because they're going through stuff too, right?
Right.
But we tend not to give them the same uh,
Grace.
mercy
Yeah,
and grace that we want.
that's true.
So I'm like, remember they're human. Give
Mm-hmm.
them a break. I actually had to stop and pray for a receptionist along my journey. Yeah,
What
because
did she do?
that
What did
sister girl, she was mad at her coworker, and she was taking it out on us. And I'm like, psh.
mm-hmm.
I said, do you understand that the people on this side of the table are fighting for their life?
Right.
Let me pray for you. I never saw that woman again. I don't know if her boss was standing there. I don't know what else happened, but she never served us again.
Wow.
And I didn't care who saw me
Right.
because she didn't care who was watching her,
Right.
have her
Act
emotions.
up. Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, okay, instead of being mad at you, let me pray for you.
I had a moment like that. I was talking like when I got my mammogram, and it was a young technician, and so every time I would go for a mammogram, I was always anxious anyway. right? Because it's just that long walk. In case they say they'll tell you to wait around, and you're just like, oh God, what is it now? So I go in, and she does the. Apparently, she didn't read my chart. So I go in and we get ready to do our thing, and I pull my gown off, and she says, "Oh, it's only one breast. Oh, that's good. We'll be done in no time. I'll be ready for lunch." And so that sent me. I just let her finish, and I held my tears in. I think that's the strongest I've ever had to be in the presence of other folks in the doctor's office. And by the time I left the mammogram area and then changed back into my regular clothes, I was already in tears. And so on my way to the car, I'm in tears. I called my big sister Liz, and
Aw.
I told her what happened. And she said, "What's her number?" And so
Right. That part.
I never saw that girl again at all. And I was
Everybody needs Liz's number.
well, yeah, and I was going at the time. I was still going every 3 to 6 months. So, and I didn't see her anymore. But I went shopping because that was my stress reliever. I spent way too much money, but I was so upset. I just pulled over, and I was telling her what happened. And my sister, she'll fight for her sisters and brothers. And so she knew what I was going through. And I told her what happened. She said, "Give me her number. What's her name? What she looked like?" And I didn't catch her name, but I knew what she looked like. But I never saw her again. And you just have to know. Yeah, they're like you said, you give them a pass. They're human, but her mouth got her in trouble that day. You don't say that to somebody. Oh, great. There's only one, so we'll get out of here early. We're already dealing with enough stuff. And so for her
And
to
those
say,
are jokes we make to ourselves, not for the
"Mhm,
technician to
right."
come out and insult me with it. That is now going to help their
And
situation.
9 times out of 10, that's probably just how she is, without even thinking. Because had you read my chart, you would have known, which a lot of times they weren't doing. They weren't reading my chart, and I used to complain. Read the chart first before you start asking me those same 10 questions that you just got out of school with. There's questions you have to ask a patient. Read the chart first, and then all those questions will be answered. But yeah, when she did that, I was devastated, and yeah, I never saw her again. I don't know what happened to her. But somebody made a phone call, and she was gone. But
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
yeah, I understand. Sometimes, I mean, it's good that you took it to the carpet in prayer, but I just didn't have it in me because I was already anxious to even pray for her. I was just so mad and hurt that my tears from the room all the way to the car was just on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's good. But yeah,
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
so yeah. You asked me about what did I change regarding eating habits, and I'm gonna be real honest. Without the help of my mama, nothing would have changed. But I was living with my mom at the time, and she literally changed my entire diet at the snap of a finger. She did all the cooking, and she said that she came in my room one day and actually said, um, she said, effective immediately, no more sugar. Like,
Mm,
whoa, what? Because she does her research, and she gonna take care of somebody, she gonna take care of them.
mm-hmm.
And so I missed the beginning of that memo. So I was having some some little challenges. So the next person that called and asked me what did I want, I said some little Milky Ways.
Oh wow.
And I said, and don't show my mama. They
Mm-mm.
brought it in a black bag. I put it under my bed. But watch this. I hardly ever ate them. It was
Wow.
just knowing that they were nearby, just like hearing that statement, outside of my agreement
Mm-hmm.
of saying effective immediately, like right now. I
But right
can't have
now,
just one other piece, and so without my mom, I would have eaten wrong through the whole thing.
mm-hmm.
I do have my ups and downs with eating right and not eating right. And I'm in one of those zones right now where eating right is the important thing, because I was speaking, I was studying John 10:10,
Mm-hmm.
and where it says that the thief comes to kill
Still.
and, but it said and. So to kill and to steal and to destroy. Then the next verse says, Jesus says, I have come that you might have life and
Mm-hmm.
have life more abundantly. So one day I said, okay, well, how is the enemy attacking me? And
Mm.
the Lord showed me, when you eat food that has absolutely no nutrition whatsoever, it is stealing from you. I was like, oh my
Oh
goodness. Like, oh,
no,
ouch, ouch, ouch.
no. You know,
I'm
today
sorry.
is
Do I
today
need
is
to give you a
national.
minute?
Yes. You know, today is National Nacho Day. You can't say that to me.
Oh, well, you don't have to eat all the nachos, but you can make something that is uh thank you. You can make it nutritional.
There is nothing nutritional about nachos.
Nothing.
Okay, it's got cheese
And chicken
and chicken
and beans.
and beans and rice.
We don't have to have the rice.
Okay, no rice. But the
But what
nacho,
I'm learning also is the combination of food
mm,
more than the food all by itself.
right, right.
So corn chips are better than flour chips. And
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about and eating better and moving forward for a healthier life, and I say for choosing life, right? When we talk about doing that, then we must recognize that it takes one step at a time. It didn't all get there overnight,
Mm-hmm.
but the more progress that we can make little by little. I have an answer and a solution for everybody that wants to know, how much exercise should I do? How much healthier food should I eat? How much water should I drink? And how much sleep should I get? I
Mm-hmm.
have the answer for everybody.
What's the answer?
More than you did yesterday. Because the average person is not hardly doing any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
True.
like you said earlier, we need to, even with all four of those, eating, drinking water, exercise, and sleep, we need to talk to our doctor,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody can't do all the same things as everybody else.
That's true.
So you still need to check in, check in, check in.
Mm-hmm.
So well, so folks over here,
Find out what
check
works
your
for you.
cracking up.
You find out
Mhm.
what works for you. She said, not your salad. You find out what works for
And
you.
not your salad, my salad.
But
Oh,
you find out what works for you. And the first time I was diagnosed, it's almost like when you have the first child, you want to eat perfectly, you want everything to be healthy. And I did really well, and I'll admit, through this pandemic, I have not been eating as well as I should have. And so last year in November, I had a doctor's appointment and I got some news I didn't particularly like. So I got rid of all white sugars, no white rice, no white bread. So any pasta is going to be wheat pasta, wheat bread. Uh, what's the sugar? Raw sugar in the
mhm.
raw. The milk. Once in a while, I still have that, maybe 3 times a year. But yeah, so I've made some changes in that way. I got an air fryer. It's just
Aren't
simple.
they the best?
Yes, they are. I wish I had invested in them 3, 4 years ago when somebody tried to get me to buy one. But they are great because you still have that crunch. You still got that fried taste in a sense, but it's not you don't get all that deep fried stuff. And again, I'm a Southern girl, and like all that food you mentioned, man. We're coming up on the on Thanksgiving now, and so I ain't gonna lie, I'm ready. But but I will not partake like I used to. I'll have the 6 food groups on there for sure, but not as much as I used to, because again, as we get older, our body cannot process that stuff. But then at the end
Right,
of the day, you can't sleep well when you
right,
don't eat well. So, and my sleep is affected. Certain things you eat, it affects how you sleep. But the water, I've never had an issue with the water. Water is just, our bodies are 70% water.
right.
That's just something we should do on a regular basis. I mean,
And we
people,
should just have a little sprout that we could just turn the spigot on and just let it
right,
flow.
right. No, she said spigot.
You know, with a shut off valve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just hadn't heard spigot in a while. Um, but yeah, so and there's still some little sweet things that I like. I'm the kind of person who has to have something sweet after I eat. So if I don't have cookies or anything, I'll get real country and make me a sugar and butter toast. So
Ooh, I just had a whole visual on that. Yes, indeed. Oh, yes. Oh, I can feel the little crunch. Yeah, just
yes,
enough
yes,
like cinnamon toast. I mean,
yeah.
French toast. Yeah.
Or
Wow.
I'll do a toast some bread with some peanut butter and sugar. So it's kind of the same sweet thing, yeah.
So
Because
in
the sugar will
reality, we
crystallize.
have to just, yeah, crystallize.
Mhm,
So, but the thing of it is, normally when we eat things that are not right,
mhm,
we gotta eat the whole thing.
mhm. Oh yeah, because
If
it's
we
we don't
think
waste food. We're not wasting food. That's why we're
right,
raised not to waste food. So I'm not throwing the food away. Yeah. What are you saying? You saying what if we think what?
if we think about as we eat, no matter what we're eating,
Hmm.
if we think while we eat and we stop eating when we're content,
Hmm.
we will do better.
Not when we're
And
full.
then and learn to let it go. So, my candy thing is Milky Way.
Mm.
So if I bite the Milky Way and I find myself content with that one bite, throw the rest away. I got my money's worth.
Hmm.
My money's worth is not eating the whole bar.
Hmm.
The money's worth is being satisfied with the taste that you were looking for. And then let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the mindset, though. We have to get in that mindset, that headspace, because otherwise, we bite into it, it's like, oh, I shouldn't throw that away. It's just the last bite. We'll compromise. We'll justify that second taco because I love tacos, and I'll justify. That taco's just sitting there. I made 3 tacos. You don't want to throw it away. That's a lot of chicken. And then if I put it in the fridge, it's just gonna go bad anyway. So I justify it. Or but yes, we justify it. But like you said, the one bite, because really, depending on what's going on emotionally, if you're an emotional eater, because sometimes I can be, it's more the satisfaction of the chewing more than it is the food. But I'm not going to chew my tongue,
Yes.
right? So I might as well throw
Right.
a taco in there, or
Might as well.
like she said, taco salad. Um, the lettuce just gets in the way when it comes to me with taco salad. That's just my thought. Lettuce gets in the way in taco salad. But yeah, just making healthier choices. Not all the time. We ain't gonna be perfect. But like you said, if we just think of it, take that quick bite because that's the satisfaction. You just need that sweet whatever to melt the nugget, the nuts, everything. Just, Then
Mm.
then you can then you just throw the rest in the trash and put it in the trash where it's covered with something because
Yes,
you
yes.
don't want
Because
to go back
5 second rule.
right. Right.
Ah.
In your own
Wait,
trash.
wait. Why did I hear somebody say today, God made dirt and dirt don't hurt?
Oh wow. Put
That's
it in your
that five
mouth and
second
make it work.
rule.
Wow. I see that. I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
So
we have to choose life.
yeah. Hmm.
And when we choose life, there are decisions that are already made for us.
Yeah.
When you choose life, you're going to choose not to eat so much of that stuff that's not good for you. And you're working on a plan on purpose to begin to eliminate them.
Hmm.
When you choose life, you will make healthier decisions on where you go and who you're hanging out with. When you choose life, you will choose, what to wear versus what not to wear. When you choose life, what do you watch on television? What do you not? It's all comes together. It's a total healing process for us. But when we're making decisions because somebody said don't eat that, or because somebody said don't go there, that's
Hmm.
somebody else's decision on us.
Hmm.
So it's got to be more than just something we say, but it's got to be something that we decide, and it's got to settle in our heart. And what we're choosing over all of whatever it is, what we're choosing is life.
Right. Right. I totally agree.
But most of the time we have no conversation on the purpose for our decision. We just make good or indifferent decisions.
Mhm.
But what's the purpose? What's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is that we choose life so that we can live better, so we can be better. And of course, since we have already brought up John 10:10, is that we might have eternal life.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And spend glory and spend time, spend the rest of our life, our
Mhm.
eternal life with Jesus in glory. I got it out.
Exactly.
Woo!
Right.
There we go.
That's right.
Amen. So this has been an awesome conversation,
It
Laura.
has.
It's,
I'm
it's
just so glad that we got to talk. Before we go, can I do a promo thing really quickly, or you?
Sure. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We need to talk about the book.
So, as part of my journey, I did journal through my cancer journey, but God had to remind me. He took me back to when I was little and then growing up. And then, as women, we tend to compare ourselves to other women. And then as young girls in the locker rooms, I don't know if they still do that, but in locker rooms, girls would be changing clothes or whatever. And you go, oh, how come I'm not developed here and she is, and different things. And I was a late bloomer. And so with that, and then as I got older, the Lord just used the breast cancer just to remind me of who I am and whose I am. And all those things do not make me a woman. And I am fearfully and wonderfully made. My soul does know it well. I think it's Psalm 139:14. 41. Don't quote me. I know some saints out there
It's
know
in
it's
there somewhere.
but so what I did is I wrote my book. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called "I Stuffed My Bra, So What," and well, it's really good. It's done really well, I think so, because I'm not selling like those top folks, but nonetheless, the story's getting out there. But you can buy it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You can get it at Christian Faith Publishing, and even Walmart.com. Once you have made it to Walmart, you made it. So, and I have a few here, but not enough to like send them out. But also, you can, if you want to just look up some different things about me, you can go on my website. It's www.beautyafterashes.com, and it just kind of gives you a short bio. I also have another book, but that's on there. I won't promote that one, but it's on the website as well. I just The Lord convicted me on, okay, yeah, you're wearing a T-shirt once a year. You're wearing the bracelet once a year. You need to do more, and not just the book, but contribute more. That's what I was talking about. The ministry that you have, and I have been part of other agencies like American Cancer Society, and kind of dabbed a little bit with City of Hope, but they're so big sometimes that you don't. It's not to say that you're not needed. It's just that it's hard to find the space sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but I, I do go to doctor's appointments with men and women who have the diagnosis, or I'm on the phone with someone because he or she is just not sure what to ask. And I say, well, put me on speaker. I'll ask those same questions. It's the questions they
Right.
want to ask, but they just can't get them out because of nerves and
Right.
anxiety. And so then people in my community, if they need help, care packages, rides to the doctor, whatever it is that I can do to give back more than just wearing the T-shirt in October. That's what I've been trying to do. So, but I really believe you'll love the book. I've gotten great reviews about it. And if you need it signed, send it to me and I'll send it back. But
All right. All right.
this has been so great. I just enjoyed talking to you. It was just fun. And I don't know who that was commenting, but so thank you. I did see something about the taco salad. I think I saw that one.
All right. Well, Lord, this has truly been a blessing, and I'm sure we will have another interview or
Yeah.
conversation. We don't. This wasn't an interview, and I like how you turned the table back on me too.
Oh, well,
I said I said there's a real leader going on right here.
we're just having a conversation, and that's what it should be like, because otherwise, nobody wants to hear me talk for 40 minutes. I promise you, they don't. And again, then it's just one sided. So we had a great time, and I'm so glad that I connected with you. And again, we will talk again. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, as I always say, as I close my show, when all things come together, just make sure you choose life. God bless you.